guys, sorry I'm not here today. We're going to do a quick lesson. It's classwork 7, so you should be open in your packet to classwork 7. I believe it's page 21. You are also going to do a warm-up in my MCPS classroom, so make sure you go to the daily warm-up and you're going to answer the following questions. What's the value of A, vertex? You can go to desmos.com to help you graph this, because this is also going to help you with our graded activity tomorrow when I come back. This question 3, you have to make sure you talk about A, H, and K. What are the zeros and domain and range? Go ahead and select for those. Go ahead and do that now. Pause this and you can come back when you're ready. Homework tonight is the week 1 Wednesday column. You do have a short exit card at the end of class. You have them and they are going to have your name on them. So I specifically chose ones for you. You can use your Chromebook. Notice I can't spell Wednesday here. But you can use Chromebook for Desmos, or you can use graphing calculator. Please remember to hand in a phone if you're going to use the graphing calculator. Here's the answers for the Monday homework. This is period 1. You guys we looked at this yesterday. Period 4, go ahead and take some time to look at this. I'm going to check this and the Wednesday column tomorrow. Feel free to pause as needed. Going back to the warm-up quiz, what's the value of A? A is in front of the vertex here, or sorry, in front of the parentheses here, so you should have chosen -1. What's the vertex? H is always the opposite sign inside the parentheses, so you should have chosen -3, and K you keep it the same, -4. For this next question, after you graph, so when you graph it, it's -x plus 3 squared plus 4. Just making sure I did that right. It should be -4. Your graph is face down, looks like so. Vertex is there. So this moved. How did this move from 0, 0? So number 1, it's reflected. So you should have said A is reflected down, or you could have just said reflected. Then the vertex, if it's at -3 for the x value, you're saying left 3 units, and it went down 4. So you'd say down 4 units. So in order to get full credit, you have to talk about all of those. What are the zeros? Well, where does this graph touch the x-axis? It doesn't. So you're supposed to say there are none. What's the domain and range? Domain is always all real numbers. Now the range are the y values. This -4 is the highest y value that we have, and it's everything below it. So there are all these other negative numbers, -5, 6, -7, -8, and so forth. So it's should be y is less than or equal to -4, and then you would submit. Okay, so back to your packet. You can put your homework away. We are assuming that all of these graphs have A as the A in front. So everything, even though it's not perfect here, we're assuming that this is right on that corner. So we're going to graph these, and we're going to state the translation. So if I look here, how does this vertex move from 0, 0? Well, in this instance, it went up 3 units. So that means K equals 3. So if I write this equation, y equals, there's no h, so that just stays as x squared, and k is 3. So my vertex should be 0, 3, meaning my next 2 points should be up above, so up 1, right 1, up 1, left 1. So it'll be -1, 4, and 1, 4. And then the next points should be up 3 right 1 and up 3 left 1. So if I'm going 3 more, that's going to be 7, and 2 will also be at 7. Just as a reminder, the whole point of a quadratic function is that the second difference is the same. So that's how you know second difference is the same. You could also plug this x squared plus 3 into Desmos. I could say x squared plus 3. Notice that it just moved up 3 units here. There's the vertex. Just a nice little reminder too, if you click, you can see the other points here. You might need to move it around for it to be perfect. But there's that 2, 7 and that negative 2, 7. Okay, looking at number 2, this vertex from 0, 0 looks like it moved left 1. So it just moved left 1 unit. So left means the x value. I could write, and that means that's the h value. So if I write my equation, y equals x, it moved left 1, so that's minus 1, but it's really minus negative 1, which means that it should be x plus 1 squared. And there is no k here because it doesn't move up or down. So that vertex here is actually at negative 1, 0. Now if I graph that, we can just make sure we did that right. I have my parentheses. I said x plus 1 because it moved left and it's the opposite. Parentheses squared. And notice that this did move over to the left here. Next points are at 0, 1 and negative 2, 1. And then the next points from there, negative 3, 4 and 1, 4. I could figure out what 2 is if I plug 2 in. 2 plus 1 is 3, and 3 squared is 9. Okay, number 3. This one moves a little bit. So compared to 0, 0 here, I'm moving right 2 and down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right 2 and down 5 units. So my right 2, that's my h value, and down k is my, down 5 is my k. My a is still 1, so this will just be x, y equals parentheses x. Right 2 is positive, but when we rewrite it, we don't trust our x. I stole that from Mr. Fraser. So it's x minus 2, and then down 5 would be minus 5, which would make sense because this vertex is here at 2, negative 5. If I plug in my equation into Desmos, just to double check, parentheses, x minus 2, parentheses, squared. You guys have to remember the squared or your answer, it will not be correct. Minus 5. Can move this down, and notice that this graph moved left, down 5, which is exactly where we wanted it to go. So 2, negative 5. The next one is going to be up at negative 4. At 0, it's back up to 0. And we should actually extend this the other way because we really want to see that symmetry. I can figure out what it is at negative 1 and negative 2. If negative 1 is here, it's at 4, and at negative 2, that's off the graph. Okay. So here's one. I know it says draw your own, but I am going to ask you just to look at this equation here, x squared plus 2x plus 2. If I plug this into the calculator, and I know that's not in vertex form, but you need to realize what to do if it's different, just in a different form. So x squared plus 2x plus 2. Very nice. So the graph moves. So it just moved left 1, up 1, and the vertex is there at negative 1, 1. So negative 1, 1. And a is still 1 because a is always in front. So a is 1, so that means to get to the next point, so I'm just going up 1, left 1, and up 1, right 1. So at 0, that's at 2, and at negative 2, that's also at 2. Now to figure out what is at 1 and 2, if I go over here to the left, looks like it's right here at 5. So that means at negative 3, it's also at 5. And you need to make sure that you are graphing 5 points, unless you absolutely can't. So how did this graph move? What's the translation? It went left 1, and then it went up 1. Now, if I write this equation, yes, this is the equation, but you can also write this in vertex form. So, y equals, we said a was 1, x, what's the vertex here? Well, I have to find that symmetry, which is here, so it's in between. So it's minus 1, but we don't trust our x, so we change it to plus 1 squared. And then k, we keep it the same, so it's plus 1. Now, how do I know if I did that right? Why don't I just plug this in with this equation to see if it's the same thing. So we can do our 1, parentheses, x, didn't trust our x, so it turned to plus 1, parentheses squared, and then it was also plus 1. And just make sure that's what we said. Yes. It's the same graph. So if I click to the red and the blue, it's the same exact thing. So these are the same equation. I know that's mind-blowing, and I'm sure you're so excited. But it is important for when we get into the next part of this unit. Okay, so once you've done this, you're done. So you need to do your exit card. It is just one question. You need to use a calculator. You need to tell me the translation. What is A, H, and K? Remember, A is in front of the parentheses. And if nothing is there, A is just 1. So if we have our equation, we have y equals A, parentheses, x minus h, because it's changed the sign, squared, and then plus k, we keep it the same. H is the h value of the, sorry, not h value, the x value of the vertex. And remember, that moves the graph left or right. And then k is the y value of the vertex, and that moves the graph up or down. Make sure you are putting your vertex in the middle of the table like it asks. Your homework tonight is to do the Wednesday column. Make sure that gets done tonight. I am checking both the Monday and the Wednesday column when I get back tomorrow, and tomorrow and Thursday we have a graded activity.